The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. Friedrich Nietzsche, there are prisons with no bars, no guards, no walls. You live in one. It was built with praise, with expectations, with the illusion of care. You were told to follow your conscience, but what they meant was their voice inside your head. You do not obey because of fear. You obey because of love, because you want to be good, because you want to be safe, because you want to be accepted. And that is how control becomes invisible. But today, you begin to see it. How control hides beneath care. It starts small. A teacher tells you, "Good kids share." A parent says, "Don't talk back." A priest whispers, "Obey God's will." And you, bright, wild, untamed, learn that freedom comes with punishment, that questioning is rude, that being liked is survival. They say it's for your good. They say it's to protect you, and maybe they believe that. But Nietzsche would ask, at what cost? Their care often has a hidden clause, "Be who we need you to be," and in trying to be loved, you disappear. Not all control looks like domination. Sometimes it looks like affection with a leash. The psychological traps of approval seeking. You start to feel it. The craving for validation, the fear of disappointing others. You don't need chains when the fear of disapproval lives in your chest. Every post you write, every outfit you wear, every silence you keep, you wonder, will they still like me? And in that wondering, you hand them the reins. Nietzsche called this the morality of the herd, a morality designed not to elevate, but to equalize, to keep everyone predictable, manageable, safe. Approval becomes the new god, and like all gods, it demands sacrifice. But this time, the altar is you. Why comfort is often a cage. Comfort is seductive. It feels good, warm, familiar. But Nietzsche warned, comfort breeds stagnation. It lulls the soul to sleep. Comfort tells you, don't speak up, don't risk conflict, don't walk away. And so you stay in the wrong relationship, the wrong job, the wrong self. You confuse peace with numbness. You call your silence maturity. You call your passivity kindness. But underneath, something is dying. Every day you choose comfort over truth. The part of you that knows begins to decay. You are not here to be comfortable. You are here to be free. The internalization of invisible authority. The final trick of control is to disappear, to make you police yourself. Eventually, no one needs to tell you what to do. You wake up and feel guilt without reason. You hesitate without threat. You censor your soul automatically. This is what Nietzsche feared most. Not tyranny from the outside, but slavery from within. When you internalize the voices of parents, teachers, priests, and culture, they become indistinguishable from your own. And you call it conscience. But is it? Ask yourself, who benefits from your obedience? From your guilt? From your silence? If it's not your own soul, it is not conscience. It is control in costume. So now you stand at the edge. You feel the soft grip of invisible chains. You see how control disguised itself as love, how comfort dressed as peace, how obedience hid in your own voice. And this is where the revolt begins. Not with anger, not with noise, with awareness. With the unflinching decision to no longer betray yourself for approval, with the quiet, powerful act of remembering who you were before they taught you to behave. That self is not lost. That self is waiting. The surest way to corrupt a youth is to instruct him to hold in higher esteem those who think alike than those who think differently. Friedrich Nietzsche. There is no virtue in obedience, only habit, only fear, only the soft rot of the soul, as it forgets its own shape. You were trained to obey, to follow rules you never wrote, laws you never questioned, gods you never chose, and you call it goodness. But Nietzsche did not. He called it decay, because the obedient man is not alive. He is functioning. Today you begin to remember, obedience is not a moral stance. It is a survival strategy, one you no longer need. How morality became a leash. At some point, they convinced you that morality meant obedience, not to truth, but to authority. Do what's right, they said. But what they meant was, do what you're told. They weaponized guilt. They dressed control in robes. They wrapped shame in scripture and said, this is love. And when you questioned it, they called you arrogant, rebellious, lost. But Nietzsche would say only the lost can find themselves. Morality, when dictated, is not moral. It is manipulation, a leash on the wild spirit, not to make it better, but to make it safe. You were not born to be safe. You were born to be sovereign. The lie of doing the right thing. What is the right thing? Is it what your parents approve of? What your boss rewards? What your religion permits? What your friends expect? Nietzsche invites you to see through the fog. Most of what is called right is merely convenient for the system, for the herd, for the old structures that fear your fire. You choose sacrifice over truth, harmony over integrity. You shrink yourself because that's what a good person does. But a good person in a sick world is not good. They are compliant, and compliance is not virtue. It is fear in a mask. Why obedience is praised but never respected. Look around. Who gets celebrated in public? The nice, the obedient, the selfless. But who is respected in silence? The bold, the dangerous, the real. People praise the obedient because the obedient are easy to control, but deep down they do not respect them. They envy those who speak their minds, who say no, who walk away. Even if they judge you, they feel your power. The world does not need more good boys, more agreeable girls, more souls waiting for permission. It needs humans who know what they are and act accordingly, without apology. You were not meant to be liked. You were meant to be true, reclaiming the will through conscious rebellion. So what now? You rebel, not with destruction, but with decision. You stop obeying out of habit. You stop kneeling to unchosen gods. You stop calling fear respect. This is not chaos. This is conscious rebellion. Rebellion with direction, with clarity, with soul. Nietzsche saw the rebel not as a destroyer, but as a creator, a midwife of new values, a builder of inner law. Every time you say, "No, not for me," you reclaim your will. Every time you ask, "Is this my belief or theirs?" you sharpen your clarity. And every time you act from that clarity, even if it costs you everything, you take power back. This is not easy. To walk this path is to lose the comfort of being understood, to become a stranger to the ones who only loved your obedience. But Nietzsche never promised comfort. He promised transformation. And transformation does not come by asking what is allowed. It comes by asking what is true for me, even if no one claps. If you can live from that place, you are no longer a servant. You are free. The greatest events, they are not our loudest, but our stillest hours. Friedrich Nietzsche, you left the house of rules. You walked away from their gods, their guilt, their golden chains. But something followed you. It lives in your head now, dressed in your voice, using your language. It tells you you're not enough, that you shouldn't rest, that you should do more, be more, suffer more. It is not a parent, not a priest, not a boss. It is a ghost you fed for years, and it wears your face. This is the inner tyrant, and you will not be free until you see him. Recognizing the voice that keeps you small. You hear it when you try to rest. You're lazy. You hear it when you say no. You're selfish. You hear it when you dare to dream. Who do you think you are? It never screams. It judges. It reminds you of what others might think. It recites the laws you thought you escaped. It uses shame like a leash. And worst of all, you believe it. Because it sounds like you, but it's not you. It's a composite. A chorus of all the people you tried to please, all the systems you internalized, all the stories you mistook for truth, and now it lives in your nervous system like a god. But Nietzsche would say, kill that god. Dismantling guilt and inherited shame. Guilt is not always a moral compass. Often it is a collar. You feel it not because you did wrong, but because you defied an internal rulebook you didn't write. You were taught to feel guilty for resting, for succeeding, for saying no, for existing outside their narrative. That's not ethics, that's conditioning. And shame? Shame is deeper. It's not, I did something bad. It's, I am bad. But who told you that? And why do you still believe them? Nietzsche would not ask you to erase your past. He would ask you to interrogate it, to shine firelight on the beliefs that bind you and ask, does this belong to me? If not, drop it, burn it, replace it with your own voice. how self-control became self-domination. You were praised for being disciplined, for not needing much, for being quiet, for staying calm. But at some point, self-control stopped being strength and became self-domination. You learned to override your own desires, to mistrust your impulses, to turn every ambition into a command. You became your own dictator. Nietzsche would not call this mastery. He would call it a tragedy, because a soul that cannot listen to its own depth, to its rage, its desire, its hunger for truth is not strong. It is caged. To master the self is not to silence it. It is to know it, love it, and choose from it freely, breaking the pact with the past. At some point in your life, you made a pact. To survive, to be loved, to be safe, you would become what they needed you to be. And that worked. But now it is killing you. That pact was made in fear, not in truth, and you've outgrown it. Breaking it doesn't mean rejecting your past. It means thanking it and then walking away. You are not the scared child anymore. You are not the obedient teen. You are not the people-pleasing adult who always says yes. You are something else now. You are becoming, and becoming requires betrayal of the false self you wore to survive. Let the inner tyrant rage. Let the guilt scream. Let the shame rise and stand. Because when you do, you are no longer a subject of your history. You are the author of your future. He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. Friedrich Nietzsche. There is defiance that is noisy, dramatic, loud, performative, and then there is defiance that is clean. It doesn't raise its voice, it doesn't explain itself, it simply sees clearly and walks away. This is not rage, this is clarity. This is the power of the one who no longer begs for understanding, who simply chooses. When obedience collapses and the inner tyrant loses its grip, what's left is not chaos, it's conscious defiance. The raw refusal to keep betraying yourself. The sacred art of saying no, no is a boundary. No is a birth. No is an affirmation of what you are not. You were taught to fear it, conditioned to soften it, to say, maybe later, or I'll think about it, or I don't know if I can. But the truth is simple. If you can't say no, your yes is a lie. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, bores you, cages you, you say no to your becoming. Nietzsche would not ask you to be agreeable. He would ask you to be honest. And sometimes honesty sounds like, no, I'm done. That one word can reclaim your time, your space, yourself. Use it like a sword, not to attack but to cut away the false. Walking away from roles you never chose. You were cast in roles long before you knew you had a choice. The good daughter, the responsible son, the helper, the pleaser, the loyal friend, the quiet student, the humble servant. These roles brought love, approval, survival, but now they bring suffocation. And here's the secret. You can leave. You can say, that's not me anymore. You can stop playing dead to keep others comfortable. Nietzsche spoke of becoming who you are, which begins by shedding who you are not. You don't owe the world consistency, you owe it truth. Why truth tellers are punished, and why it doesn't matter, tell the truth, and you will lose friends. Say what you see, and you will disturb the herd. Live freely, and you will be called selfish, difficult, arrogant. Good. That is the tax of clarity. Nietzsche warned, the herd does not love the one who sees. They love the one who confirms. And when you stop confirming their illusion, they will call you dangerous. Let them, because truth is always punished before it is praised. If you wait for approval, you will wait forever. If you choose what is real, you will walk alone for a while. But the path clears, the weight lifts, and the silence becomes holy. Freedom as a daily, dangerous act. Freedom is not a concept, it is a discipline. Every day you must choose it. You must ask, is this mine or inherited? You must say no to what numbs you. Say yes to what ignites you. Leave when you are shrinking. Stay when you are growing. It's dangerous because it costs you comfort, stability, familiarity, but it gives you back your life. Nietzsche believed that freedom was not granted, it was taken, seized, lived, not once but daily, in how you speak, in how you walk, in how you love and work and rest and rise. Your freedom is not their responsibility, it is your burden and your birthright. So rise then, not in anger, but in alignment. Let your silence speak louder than their noise. Let your no echo with sacred fire. Let your defiance be rooted not in bitterness, but in being done with the lie. You are not here to fit, you are here to forge. You are not here to repeat, you are here to reveal. You are not here to obey, you are here to live. I teach you the overman. Man is something that shall be overcome. Friedrich Nietzsche. There comes a moment, not loud, not grand, when something inside you clicks. You no longer ask to be seen. You no longer need to be right. You no longer bend for belonging. You become uncontrollable, not in chaos, not in rage, but in clarity. They cannot use guilt to pull you back. They cannot use praise to push you forward. They cannot bribe, threaten, or shame you into submission, because you've remembered what they forgot. You are not a servant. You are the flame itself, living from the will to power, not fear. Most people live in reaction, to fear, to duty, to expectation. Their compass points outward, their movements are defensive. But Nietzsche's way is different. To live from the will to power is to move forward, not to prove, but to create. To speak, not to convince, but to express. To act, not from fear of consequence, but from alignment with inner law. This is not selfishness, it is sovereignty. When you are ruled from within, no external force can control you. You are not a product of pressure, you are a declaration of becoming, creating your own inner compass. The old compass is gone, the one built by parents, teachers, saints, and systems. You've smashed it. Now you must build another. But this time, the needle points inward. It responds not to threats, but to truth. Not to approval, but to integrity. Not to history, but to wholeness. Nietzsche never offered formulas, he offered fire. And with that fire you burn through the false until only what is yours remains. From this, your compass is born. And with it, you walk. Not toward a goal, but as a goal. Not toward meaning, but as meaning itself. Finding power in solitude and silence. You have shed too much to go back. You are no longer digestible, no longer comfortable to the crowd. Good, because now you walk with yourself. And that walk, though loneliest, is holy. Solitude is no longer emptiness, it is presence. Silence is no longer awkward, it is sacred. In the absence of noise, your soul speaks. Not in language, but in knowing. You begin to see what others miss. You begin to move without explanation. You begin to feel not the emotions of the herd, but the electricity of being free. That is power, and it cannot be imitated. The birth of a new kind of human. You are not the old self, not the nice one, not the obedient one, not the quiet, apologetic, easy to manipulate shadow you once wore. You are a new kind of human, raw, clear, alive. A human who cannot be bought with praise or controlled by fear. A human who creates value, not reflects it. A human who is not waiting for permission to be powerful. You do not belong to their stories anymore. You are writing your own myth, line by line, breath by breath, in blood and silence and ruthless truth. So now, a choice. You can scroll away, back to the noise, the numbness, the scripts, or you can stay. Follow this voice. Keep the fire lit. Let it guide you deeper, not into answers, but into yourself. Because the world does not need more good people. It needs more real ones. You were never meant to be controlled. You were born with fire in your chest, with truth in your bones, with a voice that was never meant to whisper. But they taught you to shrink, to obey, to fit. No more. If this voice awakens something in you, a memory, a hunger, a glimpse of what you are, then don't let it fade. Follow it. Subscribe not for entertainment but for evolution. There is more to unlearn, more truth to uncover, more chains to break. And if you're ready to keep walking away from fear into fire, then join us, because the future will not be written by the controlled. It will be written by the uncontrollable.